Hello, welcome to Family Therapy Podcast channel. My name is George Chacha. Family Therapy Podcast channel is a channel that seeks to explain, to kind of demystify, simplify, or rather describe issues pertaining to marriage and family. In this episode, I will be talking about my personal marriage, my marriage, and how it broke. I was married at the age of 24. By that time, I was a student at Kenya Armed Forces Technical College in Embakasi Garrison, where I was studying aeronautical engineering. We were living in an estate within Embakasi area, namely Kayole. I envisaged a marriage that was full of love, a marriage that was full of compassion, a powerful, sweet, calm, perfect marriage. I envisaged, I kind of used to draw a parallel between my marriage and those other perfect marriages that I had seen on soap operas, on films, or maybe a few within my neighborhoods. And therefore, at least I had a bar, I had a yardstick of the kind of marriage that I wanted. And I thank God that He equally gave me a good wife with whom there was quite a lot of understanding between us, and both of us were really interested to realize a good family, just a good marriage. And I remember during that time, there were no Pampers. We used to have napkins, and I had bought 2 dozens of napkins, and whenever the last lesson would come to an end, I would really rush home in Kayole to basically go and do cleaning. I knew that cleaning of the napkins and the general cleaning of the house was my responsibility, since my wife was still recuperating from the delivery processes. And therefore, I would go home and clean the napkins, wash her clothes and wash the utensils, go downstairs, since we lived in the 4th floor, and to buy food supplies and bring to the house. And we used to have just wonderful evening playing about with our son Judah Ben-Ha, who gave us a lot of joy, who brought in a lot of light. And it was just an exciting moment having that little angel within our family. And the boy unfortunately had some problems whereby he would be crying during the night, unfortunately. And since the following day I was attending classes, it was only, we had made an arrangement such that I would sit with the boy from between 10 up to around 1 in the morning. Then I would hand him over to his mother so that I get time to sleep, for me to wake up in the morning at 5, being fresh and ready to go to school. And the life was like that, and we continued just helping each other and loving our family. There was no fighting, even though once in a while we experienced some mute mode. Okay, there would be mute mode in the marriage, where maybe sometimes she may not talk for 2 days, 3 days. Sometimes she would blame me for this, sometimes I would blame her for this, and we just didn't know how to resolve our issues. So we felt that the best way of us resolving it was zipping our mouth, or maybe just muting, kind of. So in 1996, we got an opportunity, or we were lucky to get a house within Moi airbase. And inside Moi airbase, life became a little bit cheaper, because I was not paying rent, I was not paying any transport to work, and we lived relatively a calmer life. And my family was growing, and it was a joyous moment. Having 2 children, coming from work, and the children are there. I'm playing with this one, I'm playing with that one. Then in 1998, our 3rd born, he was a miracle baby. He came in at a time when none of us really knew it, and by the time we were discovering that actually there's a child in the pipeline, it was actually quite advanced. So I felt that I had to name, I wanted to call him Jesus, but then Jesus is more as a divine name, so I called him Isa, which equally means what Jesus means, one who is born miraculously. And it was a joyful moment for me to have 3 children. And even as they grew up, I used to be very proud walking with them to the club. I would go to the Airmen's Club. I would go to the Corporals Club later when I got promoted, and we'll drink, all the 4 of us. And I used to see 4 men My generation sitting there and drinking as they drank their soda, and I was drinking my stuff, and just listening to music within the club. And then later on, maybe around 8 or 9, I would walk with my children back home. It gave me a lot of sense of satisfaction. I felt good. And as they grew up, they attended Moi Airbase Academy, Moi Forces Academy. Whenever they would come from school, I would always be there in the evening at 5. I would help them with their homework. Unfortunately, I now regret I would sometimes push them way too hard. In other words, I had actually set the bar for them relatively too high, so that I was more concerned with them rising to the bar more than their comfort. And for this one, honestly, I feel I really owe them a very big apology. My children grew in wisdom, in knowledge, and in stature, and I thank God. And as they grew, their mother would often be busy. I would help in the kitchen. I would cook in the kitchen. I would wash clothes. I would wash my children. There's a time when he would go home to the rural, and I would remain in Nairobi with the 3 children, and I would take care of them. I would wash them. I would wash their clothes. I would cook for them, because they really represented my world. And it didn't matter. Like, for example, the time when she went to build for her mother a house back in Korea East, I remained with the children for almost 2 weeks, and it was just a happy moment. And they later on, they would remind me of the delicious food that I used to cook for them. It gave me a sense of satisfaction, a sense of love and longing to know that my children actually appreciated my food. They appreciated the way I cooked. So that was then. And then things went on. Unfortunately, we didn't know how to resolve issues. There would be emerging issues, and I would find myself raising an issue, and my wife just kind of goes on mute. Then I also go on mute, and both of us are on mute. For 1 week, we have not talked nicely to each other. We are just there. We are not physically fighting. We are not abusing each other, but we simply are not talking. There is no communication. And it continued like so, and we found ourselves really sometimes almost coming to a point of losing connection. Our intimacy was going down, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to go about it. Then time progressed. Later on, well, I had to leave the Air Force when I terminated my contract with the Kenya Air Force, and I relocated to Migori County, specifically now in Korea, where I had built my homestead. Then the children now were far away, so that most of the time it was just the 2 of us in the house. And we found that actually the problems that we were experiencing in Nairobi were now growing bigger and bigger, such that we could go even for 3 weeks, for 1 month without talking. And it became almost normal that we can go for 1 month without talking. I saw it like it's normal. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Then it came to a point when things really became so strange. I mean, very funny things were happening in our relationship. We didn't know how to resolve them. We didn't know how to involve other people to help us. And we felt that we are just okay. And in the process, it reached a point when we ended up separating bedrooms. And in the process of separating bedrooms, I would say that is where we really lost it, because now the physical contact went to zero. The emotional contact went to zero. The intimacy went to zero. We were there, yes. We would cook together in the kitchen. I mean, you'd find me cooking in the kitchen. When she comes, she only comes to fry the vegetables, maybe to fry what would escort the ugali. The ugali was exclusively my responsibility. And I would wash dishes, I would wash clothes, I would wash her clothes, I would wash my clothes. Yet we slept in separate bedrooms. It looked normal, it looked okay. But then inwards, there was something terrible that was going on. There was some struggle inside me, and I believe there was also struggle inside her, but we didn't know how to bring it to the table for us to discuss and maybe evaluate. And things went on like that until one day, one fateful day, I felt that I couldn't take it anymore, any longer. And I just felt that I was too lonely. I was too broken. And when it came to that point, the decision that I made was to completely change my life. It was to completely kind of change my family. And since that day, things in my family have never been the same. Looking back, I believe there are things I could have done differently. Looking back, I believe there are things that my wife could have done differently. Looking back, I believe that there were so many red flags, but we chose to ignore them. Okay? It's like I expected her to initiate the process of dialogue, and she expected me to initiate the process of dialogue, and in the end nobody initiated the process of dialogue, and we only came to learn that we had reached the boiling point of our relationship when it was too late. However, before a marriage breaks, the red flags are there. Indications that all is not well is very clear. It's only that we ignore. And to this moment, I treasure those old moments. I will forever treasure the woman who came into my life at the age of 24. The woman who gave to me 3 most beautiful beings that will carry my generation, beings in whom I will live forever. I urge all of us to take note that before a marriage breaks, there is always, and there will always be, indications. There will be red flags. Let us not ignore them. If you have an experience to share, please, after you've clicked the like button and the subscribe to the channel, let us hear what you have to say. How did you rise to where you are? How did things lead, or the turn of events lead to where you are currently? Share with us and let's keep this conversation moving. Your story will inspire someone somewhere. Your story will bring some kind of understanding and shine light in a very dark marriage somewhere, in a very dark family somewhere. So don't miss out. Be the instrument of change that we need. Thank you.